Hi, my name is Melissa DeWeese, and I help businesses become more efficient with their employee benefits strategy. So today I was going over the recent LinkedIn trends. I found it super interesting. It's super relevant to everything that we're seeing happen in the workplace and job market. So let's dive into it. We're going to review work-life balance, well-being, and some other trends that we are seeing. Just start here at the beginning. And the first one is regarding work-life balance. We're seeing more and more employees asking for this, and employees are moving, even if a job is offering the same amount of money and benefits, if they're offering a work-life balance, they are moving that direction. Again, these items when they're on LinkedIn is there's tons of job postings, and on top of that, people post their profiles when they get a new job. So we get to see what new titles are coming up because of this transformative work environment. I am super interested to see what new job titles are trending as well, and I have some of that information, and LinkedIn included it in their report. So work-life balance is number one at 63%. Compensation and benefits is at 60%. So just right behind that. And 40% is culture. So employees are very sensitive to culture. And I find this word, or this phrase, work-life balance, very interesting. And I'm someone that really likes to define terms and understand what they mean, because I think we make a lot of assumptions when we say work-life balance. It means something different to me than maybe it means to you. And I wanted to know what LinkedIn had done in their survey data when they're surveying their population as to how they defined it. So how they're defining it is work-life balance, the freedom to work where and when you want, and support and empathy from their employer. So a very general term. Okay, and I think if an employer comes to this from an authentic point of view, they are more successful. Employees can really pick up on that if they're authentically caring about an employee's stress levels, mental. At the end of the day, I believe a lot of the tonality that I'm getting and a lot of the assumptions around work-life balance have to do with mental health and stress and not being micromanaged, being based off of your results, having a program where your employer can measure your results in some significant way, but not micromanage the employee. There's a huge difference there. So employees are, their happy place is one they choose. So they want to choose whether they're going to go in the office or stay at home. When employees are satisfied with their company's time and flexibility in location, so 2.6% times more likely to report being happy when they have flexibility on time and location, 2.1 times more likely to recommend working for the company. So if you have an employee that you're really happy with, odds are that their friends are fabulous employees as well. So we like that. Employees want a care package because we all know that these staffing agencies and other means of getting new workers and turnover is extremely expensive. If employees feel cared for at work, they are 3.2 times more likely to be happy at work. So again, just that authenticity, making sure you're being authentic with your employees and truly caring, not just faking that you're caring. 3.7 times more likely to recommend working for the company. Okay, so same trend there, just stated in a different way. Again, you have to remember these are surveys, and when survey professionals are writing out these questions, they really want to reword it and really drive to what is the underlying meaning and how people are defining different terms. So sometimes questions are asked in different ways to drive towards getting a conclusion. Gen Z wants a culture built on mental health and wellness. So there was some generational information in here about millennials versus Z versus baby boomers and so on. And 66% of Gen Z say more investment in mental health. So again, similar to what I said in the beginning, having that support to deal with stress and perhaps some family issues and other issues that arise. So There goes my voice again. Maybe one of these weekends I'll do a episode on improving your voice. I talk a lot. If you've watched me before, you know that my voice cracks, my voice can get shaky about 15 minutes into a presentation. And sometimes it sounds like I'm even going to cry. I'm not. So I promise. The Great Reshuffle, the Great Resignation. So in the United States, close to 39 million resigned. So a lot of us have heard of the Great Reset or the Great Resignation or the Great Reshuffle. And in the United States, close to 39 million resigned in the first 10 months of 2021, the highest number since 2000. So again, just driving home, I know a lot of us have seen these statistics, but for those of you who haven't, I'm just doing a revisiting this. More than 40% of workers globally are thinking about quitting their jobs, according to a Microsoft survey. And I did go over this Microsoft survey a week or so ago, and there was some interesting information. I did dive into a little bit of the information in this just as a reminder to show some interesting points on the survey. And we are trying to figure out what is going on. Exactly where is this economy going? What are employees doing? What decisions are they making? Which companies are they deciding to go to above and beyond other employers? And what is the deciding factor? So one of the deciding factors that I'm hearing over and over again is work-life balance. Employees are saying that term when I am talking to them. They're looking for that work-life balance, or they're happy with their employer because they have flexibility and the work-life balance. Their employer understands when they have to go pick up their kid from school. Their employer understands when their kid is sick and they have to work from home when their kid is sick. These little additional flexibilities really, really mean a lot to employees, especially employees with families. So we have, this is a clip from the Microsoft study, and we are seeing that as employees have transitioned to working at home, they are working more. So when they are in the environment, especially if they're living in an apartment or living in a small space, their brain begins to associate even their home as a workspace. So perhaps even just talking to your employees about setting up their workspace at home in a different way. For me, I have these lights, and luckily I do have an office. So I am fortunate to have a whole separate room that I can put towards work. But even for me, I have to set aside a separate space in my home to do more creative work or decompressing or planning my days ahead of time to get into that more right brain, creative brain mindset. And I can understand if an employee is living in a smaller space, and especially if they don't have as much life experience as some of the other managers, or as much understanding about how the mind works, they can fall into not knowing how to shut it off. So talking to the employees about, for me, I turn on these lights, and there are lava lamps and black lights, and they help me calm down and let me know that, hey, it's time to sit down at the computer and work. And when my day is done, I shut them all off, and it's done. My work day is done. Having some sort of marker. Also, music helps. I have different types of music that's played during different times of work activity that I'm doing. We're all doing different tasks. We have administrative, we have creative, we have emails, we have talking to clients. You know, there's so many different hats that many employees and managers are wearing, and that you're wearing, that perhaps setting different tonalities, different lighting, even just rearranging your desk in a specific way, turning on different music, having some sort of cue or clothing that you wear, that definitely helps me as well. Having different clothing, not just being in your sweatpants all the time, even though we're at home, making sure to change out of the sweatpants so that your brain has that association. Okay, sweatpants are off, we are going into work mode. Because, and the reason why I'm driving that home is because the average work span has increased by 13% or 45 minutes in the past 2 years. So there's definitely a correlation with the pandemic, and I'm tying this to working at home. So in the past 2 years, since people have been working more at home and have had these flexible work schedules, working at home sounds very glamorous until you're doing it full time. And I fortunately, before the pandemic, was in a flexible working environment, and I was working from home the majority of the time. So I learned a lot of these tips and tricks. However, there are some of your employees that are not aware of these tactics and they are stressing themselves out because they are in a space in their home that is also now their work environment. So many of your employees may be having a hard time shutting that off and transitioning away from work. The trend does not appear to be changing. That's one of the takeaways from a new Microsoft study that combines a survey of more than 31,000 workers and companies around the world. And all the data was used from calendar invites and other data that Microsoft captures. So you can see that meetings per person is up 150%. Chats per person is up 32%. Average work is up 27%. And average workday span is up 13%. Okay, so this is, yes, they're in this beautiful space. Yes, they can work at the beach or work in their backyard and change their environments, but they may be frustrated. They may be dealing with some additional stress that you are unaware of. So culture can be a huge selling point. So if you are this sort of culture and you have the E-team and the CEO and the president that's on board, because we all know it starts at the top. So if you have a good culture that can move towards more of this compassion, flexible work schedule, talking to your employees about some of these transitions and showing your empathy and making sure your managers are showing empathy and training your managers on some of this mental health stuff and maybe some coaching, it will really pay off. Culture can be a selling point for picky job seekers. So picky job seekers are going to be your top talent. They're going to be your highest performers. 2 times increase in job posts viewed per application. So this shows more professionals are looking and people are applying to more jobs. So in the past, maybe they applied to 10, now they're applying to 20. 67% engagement boosts when companies post mention culture. So having keywords in your job posting obviously is going to get it more traction. And culture is one of those words. So I'm going to go ahead and post some of these reports in the links down below. If you have any questions about any of these reports, please let me know. Hit the like button, share it, and comment below. If interesting or helpful in any way, please do share it. And so I'll dive into some more details here as to what employees are saying about work-life balance, because again, I am interested to see what the employee thinks work-life balance means. Because again, work-life balance, we all probably have our own ideas about this. And the most important thing is what the employees mean when they are asking for work-life balance. So the number one employee value proposition is good work-life balance or life-work balance. So in the LinkedIn report, they were stating that it's kind of ironic that work-life is work is the first word in work-life balance, when it should be life-work balance, followed by excellent compensation and benefits. Less meetings, I put let meetings, but they want less meetings, more efficient meetings. Prioritizing your meetings, making sure that people are not late to your meetings, making sure that people have their cameras on, their videos on, they're not hiding in the meeting in any way, and everybody is transparent and respects everyone else's time, and that the meetings start and end on time. If you say it's a 20-minute meeting, it needs to be a 20-minute meeting. If it happens every once in a while, you start going over too long, more than about 20% of the allotted time of the meeting, then you really want to let people know that you are going to reschedule or extend it to the next meeting time or the following week. Everybody is really busy. People are stacking their calendars. Employees are becoming more and more efficient with their calendars. So you really want to respect those times because it could eat into this work-life balance. 4-day work week. Of course, employees have been asking for this for a long time. I know many employers are resistant to it. However, employees are still asking. I had an employer that I worked for that was every other Friday was off as long as you completed all of your items. It was a results-driven organization. And so as long as you had all of your systems and projects updated and you weren't late on any deadlines, you could take that every other Friday off. Counseling and mental health supportive services. many employers have this already. You're already paying for mental health and supportive services, especially if you have medical, dental, vision, or disability benefits. Life insurance benefits oftentimes have supportive health services built in. Either you're not aware of it or your employees aren't aware of it. So making sure that you are sending out reminders to your employees on how to access this information, or emailing out flyers, or snail mailing out flyers will be very important. Having an online system that they can access this information without going to HR. Employees don't want to talk to their employer or the person that hired them about mental health support services. It's awkward to go to the person that hired you and say, "Hi, excuse me, and can I please have information about mental health?" Employees don't want to talk about it already, maybe even with their friends or family. They certainly do not and should not feel as though they need to talk to their employer. It's also a liability for the employer to know too much. So either having a third party that they can call and ask these questions to, or having information available with a click of a button where they can access all of these pertinent flyers and additional benefits that you're offering. You're spending so much on benefits. It breaks my heart when I see employers spending such a high percentage of payroll on their benefits and not utilizing them to their highest potential. Wellness focused culture. So having a wellness focused culture, again, is going to start at the top. I've seen this happen with HR professionals where the HR person is really into wellness. That can certainly work because the HR is very in tune with the employees. However, it certainly helps if the operations and CEO and possibly the CFO can get on board. Employees look up to you as the managers and the C-suite. They are mirroring you and they want to relate to you in some way. So making sure that you are relating to them in a healthy way and encouraging them to take care of themselves, you're going to have happier and more productive employees. You're going to have higher sales. You're going to have higher client retention. Happier employees help you keep your clients longer. Happier employees are going to stay with your culture longer, and therefore your client retention is going to be longer. Empathetic leaders. So again, getting your leaders some sort of collective listening technique, just making them aware of some of the statistics that are happening in our workplace, and perhaps sharing this video in our workspace. I'm sure your managers don't want to be training a whole fleet of new staff. If 40% of ask them, what would your life be like if 40% of the people under you left and you had to retrain all these people? It really behooves them to get on board, make sure that they're nurturing those relationships as well. Percentage of respondents selecting these top areas to invest in improving company culture. So what are employers doing? How are they responding to this? Where are they focusing? They're looking at flexible work support, 48%. So many of the employers are catching on to this trend. They're looking at professional development opportunities. So looking at educating their managers, just like I stated, mental health and wellness, making sure that they're showing their employees that they do have mental health and wellness benefits. That's 42%. Training managers to lead remote and hybrid teams. So this is a huge transition. If a manager is used to managing people in person and now they're managing a team online, it is a different environment and there is a different set of matrix. There is a different way of going about it without micromanaging. So making sure that you have those systems and technologies in place and that everybody is using the same processes in a consistent way, because we all know garbage in, garbage out. Diversity and inclusion. So being sure to include everyone in the process, being open and transparent, and treating everyone the same and giving everyone the same amount of respect. That should go without saying. How are employers responding? So in the LinkedIn survey, of course, they had a huge amount of survey data. They also did some interviews with some high-level consultants, and the consultants are recommending that we shift away from presenteeism and towards performance. So about 10, 15 years ago, the hot topic was presenteeism, meaning employees are at work, but they're not really productive. And the focus was improving productivity. And how do we make sure that employees are present when they're at work, and they're present mentally, not just physically, but mentally. And now we're seeing a shift towards performance and results-based compensation. Organizations must measure outcomes and not activity. So looking towards a project management system that can track due dates and track the activity. Of course, you don't have to look at every single activity. You can just then look at the status of each project and measure an employee's success based off of project completion and the quality of work from the results. This is done in sales. Easier to track sales because it's all money. You know, did you bring in X amount of money? Okay, if you are responsible for that relationship, you get X amount of commissions. Now, with other tasks, it is difficult. You know, it's more difficult to track that, but you do, you know, it can be done. Focusing on results and not hours. So ability to meet goals. Again, having some sort of project management system where you can give projects to delegate projects or tasks to your team and follow up and give feedback on a regular basis to help guide that new hire or that employee on what their importance is to the team and what the team's performance and results are important to the company, and making sure they understand their importance in that process and how they drive the company forward and how that result helps the company's values as well as their goals for 2022 and beyond. Setting boundaries, making sure that everybody's taking a break. It's okay to get up. If anybody that's listening has followed some of my more recent activity, I have been taking a break and doing 15 push-ups, taking a break and doing 10 burpees, and sharing that on my social medias and making sure that people understand that sitting at a desk is not the most healthy thing for your body. Turning off devices. So when you take those breaks, you're not walking and doing this on your phone, taking a break and looking at a far distance. So looking, only being a foot or so away from a screen 24/7 is not good for your eyes, your vision insurance. So we've got the blue light damages a certain part of our vision, and it can degrade over time. And so we want to make sure to look up and look at farther distances to give those muscles of our eyes that extra physical activity. They're little tiny muscles that do need that range of motion and that strain to get stronger. So making sure employees are taking those eye breaks and mental breaks. And blue light blocking glasses is another one. It's a fairly cheap product that you can send to all of your employees and tie that present or that gift to your employees to a educational video or educational flyer, because you have to remember your employees will draw their attention to it rather than maybe just a flyer or an email, where others are very lingual and getting an email, they will incorporate that into their life just fine. But the more kinesthetic people might a talk that's more interactive with your employees, maybe a Zoom meeting, and your visual learners are going to also events and live meetings. So communicating in a Zoom call and recording it. Of course, you can offer it live, but let employees know that, hey, if you have a doctor's appointment, it will be available in a Zoom link for you to watch it at a later time. All right. So employers, just like employers were interested in millennials 10 years ago, and what are millennials doing? What are their work styles? What are the pain points with millennials? I can talk trash about millennials because I am a millennial. So no offense taken. So Gen Z, we're seeing flexibility as something that they are really high on. So millennials were 30% when we first hit the scene, and now Gen Z is even higher. They're more than double. They're in their workspace. All right, Gen Z wants a culture built on mental health and wellness. So Gen Zs see the importance of this work-life balance, making sure breaks are taken, and making sure that they can work from any location. If they want to set up their laptop in their backyard and get some extra sun, they expect that their superiors and management and team members will see that as normal and go on with it and see it as they're still working, or they're just working in a different environment. Okay, so seeing that mental health, those mental health breaks and those wellness breaks to get that sunlight or take a walk or go to the gym or do some yoga, having access to something that isn't just an employers are offering. So well-being content, you have a higher amount as far as requesting well-being. So it's up 147% increase in the share of job postings. All right, so 73% increase in company 19, 73%. Okay, so there's more engagement posts mentioning well-being, more likely to engage with well-being company posts compared to an average post. So incorporating LinkedIn, sharing some sort of well-being or work-life balance in their day and showing that they're a real human and that they have real people working for them, and displaying that company culture on LinkedIn is a strategy that, an authentic strategy that will help attract employees to you. LinkedIn members are posting more about these key topics. So as a share of all members' posts, relative growth from 2019 to 2021, flexible work is up 362%. Again, it's a trend. This is a trend report. 35% well-being and 15% company culture. As I told you, flexible work and work-life balance, these are words that are coming out of employees' mouths. I talk to employees every single day. I work with HR, I work with CFOs, I work with CEOs, management, to help them better engage their employees with their benefits. And as I talk to employees anyway, and these are, I'm certainly hearing flexibility and work-life balance more and more and more. So I really thought this was interesting, a nice little snapshot. So smoking in the office was the 1950s. 1970s, women rise in the workplace and dress codes loosen. And then, this one I found most interesting because this is more my history and when I started in the workplace. So relationships between workers and bosses fray, that was the 90s, and the tech startup culture. So the 2000s was all about these game rooms and volleyball courts and exercise in your work culture and cafes and lunches. And the more of those sorts of features that your organization offered, the more your employees talked about how great you are to work for. And now this is what employees are posting. They're posting, look how cool, I'm working out on the beach today, or I'm working in a park, or I'm, in this lounge chair, or work-life balance, work from home, than the working from the office with foosball. And today, the era of human-focused company culture begins. So again, being outside, working from anywhere, and work-life balance and the flexibility and results-based compensation. So again, as I mentioned earlier, having these new job titles pop up, I'm super interested to see where the more entrepreneurship and more employees seeking to find flexible work through websites. So there's different websites that are popping up that are doing more freelance-based work. That is certainly a trend, and employers certainly don't mind doing more contract work. So there's some more contract work being done and being fractured. The work culture is being a little bit fractured in that way. New types of jobs are needed today than ever before. So one way to hold on to your employees is to be clear about the employer expectations in the role. So make sure that's done from the get-go and then continued. So sometimes this is communicated when someone is hired, and then the manager doesn't necessarily check in on a regular basis to review projects on the employee's calendar and deadlines, and making sure that once a project is completed, that there is constructive criticism. You tell the employee exactly what they did right first, and then you ask if you can give them some feedback. And giving feedback is valued by high-performing employees. If you're not giving feedback, positive, and then some sort of critique, how to get better and do it better next time, your high performers will leave. Be clear on how performance will be measured. Be clear how the employee's role contributes. I basically went over this a little bit earlier. So you want to make sure that they know that their role is important to the organization, that it drives revenue in some way, and that it drives towards the company's values, goals, and objectives. So here's customer solutions engineer, user experience researcher. We're seeing a lot of user experience changes, as they say, SaaS systems, software as a service, everything is a service now. Talent acquisition specialist, backend developer, search marketing manager, chief human resources officer, custom marketing manager, business systems administrator, analyst, relations specialist, mergers and acquisitions, diversity and inclusion manager, machine learning engineer, technical product manager. Okay, so those are the top ones. So that is what I have for you today. I appreciate you hanging out with me and going over this information. As you know, I really am interested in a lot of these trends and graphs and sociology-based data. It's what I absolutely love to do. And so if you are interested in this information as well and trends, please be sure to follow me. If you have any comments, please make one down below. I do have a contact me link below. I would love to hear from you. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Please share it with someone else. Please hit the bell notification so that you're notified every time I have new content come out. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.